Hello, lovely people. Oh, let's get into today's topic, shall we? I have a lovely glass of something. If you have not been able to tell by the title of this video, this is a coffee and cauldrons. On my channel, I am shaking the tripod. On my channel, coffee and cauldrons is when I deep dive into a personal thing that I am going through in my spirituality, very subjective. A lot of times they'll talk about a meditation journey I've been on, or, you know, just something that's popping up in my spells repeatedly. So this is very personal, pertaining to me. It can open up fun discussions and stuff, but again, my experience, not necessarily yours. So, you know, all of that with grains of salt, yada, yada, yada. But from the title, I wanted to talk about the most haunting tarot reading I ever had from another person, and why it still lingers with me to this day and causes certain, I guess, anxieties to pop up, particularly when it comes to romantic relationships. And also why I have interesting feelings about doubts and everything else. So I have a lovely fancy glass of Cabernet Sauvignon here. So if you want something lovely, grab a beverage, a tea, a coffee, or something alcoholic if you so choose to imbibe. Let's set the stage. When I got this tarot reading, this is back way back when I was but a wee little teen. 14, I think. No older than that, at most 16. But I used to, back when I lived in Illinois, would go up to, my mom would pile us in the car, we'd go to the Renaissance Fair, and I believe it was based in Wisconsin? It wasn't in Illinois. We had to cross the border. It was this beautiful, all built up little town where they would come in. It was a very like established place, and they always had some tarot readers there, along with a whole bunch of other divinatory fun stuff along with the Ren Fair. And I quite enjoyed going, and this is one of the ways where I would constantly be fascinated slightly with an occultian practice. Occultian, is that a word? Why not? I dub it thus, but wasn't 100% diving into witchcraft in some particular. Me and my sister every year would go to the same tent again and again and again when my mother took us, and we would get a little tarot reading. And these tarot readings were fascinating. They were by older, lovely ladies who would pull the entire deck for us and combined this huge one giant deck reading of tarot for our future laid out ahead of us, along with some numerology. So they would ask for our birthdays, we would give them, and this combination would then lay out into stuff in for us. And this is very much a tell your future type of tarot, but the women always would caution us and say, if there's something that concerns you, as always, our futures are not set in stone. We can change them. And from that bit of advice came, I believe, my belief that all divinatory tools are not reading like the thread of fate that we cannot escape, like what is meant to be will be. No, actually, what is meant to be will not be. You do have to get on the right energetic path or level up or get to, not earn per se, but a lot of the good things and or even bad things that happen to us are all based off of just what energetic path we end up being on. It's not necessarily our destiny to end up this way and there's no way to break out of it. I very firmly believe that now, but at times the doubt can trickle in this way to worry if, am I still on a certain energetic path? The energetic path that came up with this was, she read out all my tarot from years before. She had predicted horrible relations and fallouts. She had predicted multiple travel times where I had no plans on traveling. There was a lot of things like that just would pop up as I would go back to this woman again and again and again, and it would ring a little too true to me. You know, when like they would say something, you know, it's ringing a bell, something's coming up here. So I very much would trust in the energetic reading that she would pull and the advice that would give from the cards, and then I would, whether or not I liked the information or not, would make adjustments in my life moving forward. And the tarot reading that will haunt me to the end of my days is, I was doing one of these giant ass huge, the whole freaking deck numerology reading, and she was talking to me, and I was asking at the time about a high school fling and whether or not I should continue to entertain them. And they were possibly my person, I guess, is what I was asking. I was asking in a way, I was like, I am curious to see do I have a soulmate? And if so, have they entered my life or not yet? And now this might have just been some wonderful older woman's wisdom to try to direct a pubescent girl, or it could have been something she very much saw in the cards. But I will never forget the fact that she said that I should never focus too much on a partner, because that has very little to do with my purpose in this life. Excuse me, what? Now, the reason this has haunted me to the end of my days is because in some ways I have interpreted that reading in a lot of ways to mean almost that I don't have a soulmate, or that a definitive great partner wasn't meant for me. Maybe I'm meant to have a variety of partners, all who would have certain significance in their ways, but wouldn't be an overall long-lasting love, you know, a love to break the lifetimes, etc. and so forth. Carry on even past this one. Into the next we shall go and learn lessons. And as fascinating as that interpretation could be, it rang very falsely against my inner knowing. For a long, long time, I have had a feeling that there is someone here, possibly, I'm supposed to meet up with. They'll have some sort of importance in my life. To what extent that is, I'm not entirely sure. We're just gonna kind of wait and see what happens. But I also feel in a lot of ways they are, whoever this person is supposed to come in. I do feel they're supposed to come in a romantic capacity, and also help shed light on what I really want in my life. And I think the reason that rang so weird to me is to think of like, well, if my life's purpose is not connected with this person, but I also feel like there's someone that's supposed to come in of romantic importance that helps to illuminate it, how can these two things be so disjointed? Is my intuition off? Is what I'm feeling not quite right? Why does this thing continue to haunt me? And I thought about it multiple times over and over and over again, how, you know, you go through certain aspects of dating and at times you're looking for your perfect person, your soulmate, your true match, the person that's supposed to complete you in some way, shape, or form. In my younger years, at least. And now, as I've gotten older, I realize if there is a concept of a soulmate that I will maybe later confirm and find, it's not going to be a perfect match. It's not going to be a person who comes in and clinks with you or whatever else. If anything, this will be a person that challenges you, pushes you to grow, makes you shed light on the biggest dark parts of you that you've been trying to keep hidden and hide. Like, these, don't look at this flaw, it's fine. You're like, no, we actually have to look at it. You wanted to grow and advance in this life in this way. This is helpful, look. And I think one of the reasons that has lingered with me and haunted me for so often is weird to think of how over time I feel my life's purpose has definitely changed. I've always really lingered on the idea of storytelling in a way being a huge part of my life's purpose. I'm not entirely sure in what realm. I've had dreams of becoming a writer, of becoming an editor, of starting my own publishing company. And to this point still, I'm still very kind of up in the air of which ones I want to 100% pursue. Whether it's in a monetary standpoint or just on a hobby level, or is there another avenue of storytelling outside of the writerly publication literary fields that I have yet to really seek out type of thing. There's something there that's connected to, I feel like, my life's purpose. Maybe my life's purpose is something more to do with the occult that's come to my thinking recently. Something about pursuing self-improvement and mystical understanding while understanding that it's almost impossible to have 100% understanding. Just trying to swim through the chaos and hope for the best. All these questions come up, and as I've gone through my life and now coming to this point, I mentioned slightly in the other video that about my witch's ladder, that I've realized, as especially with the pandemic and all of that craziness, that one of my major goals in my life now is to start a family, find a partner, settle down, build a home together, and then hopefully collaborate with my partner on building a really great environment and hopefully find more of my life's purpose in that. And I've thought to myself, well, maybe my life's purpose more comes from the motherly standpoint. I do want to be a mom someday and bear kids. That's been on my mind for a very, very long time. And maybe that's where I'll find my life's purpose. But is that not connected to my partner? And do your desires at the highest level. When I think of what is the thing I want most right now, it is those things. To find those things and at least get on the path of them. No rush, wanting to savor it. But getting on the path of that and finding someone to connect with that I can build is a huge want of mine. But does that desire equal my life's purpose? And is my hyper-focus on that, specifically now, possibly hindering me from finding something that is truly fulfilling and from something that is overwhelmingly good for me in the long run? And the hardest part of all of this is the fact that I am taking this woman's word from way back when at this random Ren fair where I got this tarot card reading, regardless of how accurate they had been before, how helpful they had been before, I'm taking it as almost like gospel. It's a fact that this is it. That this is what the energies have led. That I have not changed my energetic path. That I am still on the same one that she had recommended to me all those years ago. And goodness, it is hard to get off of that. To, like, every time I meet someone new, this little inkling comes back in my head, and I can feel myself at times when I get dowdy or feel like I haven't really been leaning on the things that I love or really involved in my career. I pull back from any sort of romantic relationship. I will jerk out of it really quickly, worried that I'm putting too much focus on it and missing my life's purpose. Again and again and again and again. But what if that's not true? What if I've changed my energetic marker so that it does include a partner? Or maybe the partner does become a huge amount of it. Maybe I got that reading in a lot of ways to then sit down and go, wait, no. Intuitively, I want a partner to be a major part of my life's purpose. Whether that's just building a home with them and creating something awesome from that. A really stable foundation where we can continue to grow in whatever ways we want. Maybe it's to start the family and to help raise kids together, and maybe that is it. Maybe it's just the foundation that I need, that solid family bond, to then hopefully grow beyond that and then could really give myself in so many ways to whatever writing, creative endeavor, possibly witchy thing I want to once I feel safe and secure in that way. It is hard, I think, to 100% shake off the ideas that we aren't on some sort of puppeteer strings, on some like big string of fate that is leading us that we can't break out of. As much as I love leaning on and really truly believe, when I really break it down logically, that there's no way that it's all laid out 100% in this big complicated web. And what's meant for you will of course always find you. I've said it before in this example, but I think it's way more like, if there is a plan, it's looser than each thing being scripted and found out and there's no way for you to miss the thing. I feel it's more like when you plan a vacation. That's how our lives are scattered out. You know what hotel you're staying at, you know how you're getting your food roughly, like how many restaurants you possibly go out to, or you know how much you're gonna cook. Like, you have a rough idea of what the plan is. You know it's gonna take over this much time. You know, I'm taking a week. I'll be born on this day. I'll die at this day. A rough estimate. You know who's coming with you on the vacation. You know who you're bringing with, right? Like, hey, I'm going with my fam. I'm going with my lover. I'm going with whoever. But once you've made that plan, you've bought the ticket to get to wherever you want to go. You've packed your bag with what you're going to wear. Then it kind of comes up to chance, right? It comes up to the experience. If you get to the location and find that there's this amazing event happening once in a lifetime, do you go? Or do you refuse it because it wasn't a part of your original plan? If you discover a random restaurant that you just stumbled upon, do you step in and try the amazing food that's there? Or do you walk on by and just go to the one that you know is reviewed well? Sure, you know exactly who the people are that you brought with you, hopefully to experiencing this, but what about the people you meet on the journey, that you encounter? Every major vacation that I've been on, any trip of any way, shape, or form, I know, yes, I'm going here, and there are certain things that I can schedule out and plan, but ultimately then I get there and it's just an experience. And the major things I planned happen in a way most of the time. Sometimes even the plan gets entirely upheaved and you're just like, not really. Something else entirely happens. But I feel like if there is an idea of fate, of a plan, some things that you can't miss, I think it's that. Yeah, there are things that are planned. Yeah, there are things that you can't miss out on, that's whether you, a deity, whatever the hell you believe, if you believe in a higher power or not at all. I do believe there are some things that consciously help us to grow in a way. And I do think growth and experiences are kind of the whole point of life. But that doesn't mean that once you get here, that the chaos doesn't happen and then new experiences might illuminate you to something else entirely. I don't think it's as well thought out as we want it to be. And therefore, even though they continue to linger with us, that tarot reading, that random weird feeling you had, that little inkling you have in the back of your mind that just maybe you missed it, that you're not going to get it, that something's off. No, if you intuitively, or even not intuitively, just know that you want it really freaking bad, then you gotta go make it happen, right? I have a feeling that our life's purpose and the point of so much of this is, again, more of an experience. It's a discovery. It's a finding the canvas that's all messed up and weird, given to us with scratches and bumps and freshly painted over a whole bunch of other gunk that's already been on there. And then we gotta make of it what we will. We gotta find space to carve out our own little section in it and build what we want. I've definitely come to a place, like I said before, I know the things that I want, but I don't necessarily know what those things then mean for my career and my next steps. There is something interesting when you realize you've come to the place in your life where you do want to collaborate with a partner long-term in some form, and you want to build something with someone together and have a teammate, that it can be hard at times to continue to make decisions by yourself and push yourself forward. I'm constantly like checking in with myself of like, okay, well, if I do say maybe quit my job at a 9-to-5 standard company and go off and try freelancing, which I very much could do and could be very lucrative for me. At least could have been before the pandemic. I'm not entirely so sure how that looks right now. But then the stability is rocked. And isn't stability better if I want to start a family? But there's no man and no baby yet, so why am I worried of such things? But those things do trickle in, and it makes me worried of that feeling of, I have kind of had in the back of my mind the idea of like starting my own business of some way, shape, or form, going out and being more independent, but being able to be financially independent. I'm not worried about always working for a paycheck instead of like working for the thing that I'm building. It's always been something that's appealing to me. And yet the worries and the growth of adulthood and all that stuff makes, especially with the year of 2020 behind us and all the craziness of the pandemic and seeing how quickly things can fall apart and wondering what true stability is and what do we really want out of our lives, how much of us pursuing certain creative options and certain life passions, is that about appearances? Is it a true calling? Could it be just as fulfilling if it wasn't, had any sort of monetary stuff attached to it? Could it be just as much of our life's purpose if it is considered by so many others a side hobby of some sorts? I wonder a lot of times. I get so much more fulfillment out of filming these videos and editing these videos and working on my comic and just drawing random illustrations or putting out a random poetry book, even though in so many ways, like, all of this is still very much a hobby to me. It's a hobby that is attached in depth to my spirituality and my creativity. but there's not really a monetary thing attached to it. And if there's not a monetary thing attached to it, do I ever have to? Is that the discovery I need to learn? Is that, hey, you can find actually a whole lot of connection and meaning in these types of things without going overboard with it. But again, I will say, I would still very much be lying if that little niggling doesn't come in the back of my mind of how little that partner matters. They're not as attached to my life purpose as it is. And that niggling from that reading is there, while also another niggling at the back of my mind is telling me that there is still someone important to be met, found, and to build with. And that person is a romantic interest. I think this is the hardest part when it comes to like our true intuition and things that we feel like we know in our bones for so long. And some people know different things about themselves. Like, I know very well that I need to be a writer and a creative, and that the mystical, the witchy, this type of self-improvement, spiritual expression, dabbling in the occult and the mysticisms and all this is very fulfilling, and I was meant for this. Like, this is it for me. And I also have a lot of ways like, yeah, no, I'm meant to find someone to build my life with. And also to someone who, in some ways, possibly we've lived possibly other lives together. Whether or not you consider that a soulmate per se, or just someone you team up with repeatedly. I think there's a sense of familiarity and a sense of, oh, hey, yeah, you're important. Anyway, we are almost out of wine, and that concludes this video. So, comment down below, have you ever gotten a reading from someone that you feel is like niggling you, kind of haunts you, kind of always makes you think and question and double think? Are you a person who believes in fate and the line and that we can't really break out of it regardless? Or are you a person who, no, we can control our destiny quite a bit? It's all chaos and what energetic thing we end up on. Just so many different realities you can tap into. All of that stuff in the comments down below. Because yeah, it's just something I'm kind of going through right now. It's constantly re-popping up in my head. It's niggling, it's there. And if something's niggling, I'm going to keep poking it till I figure out why. But yeah, that was this week's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.